I couldn't reach my daughter for 5 days. When I went to her house, I HEARD scratching under the BD chapter when the phone was a brick in my hand. I had been staring at it for 10 minutes. The screen was RK. There were no missed calls, no text messages, no voicemails. Just a cold, black rectangle that held nothing but silence. 5 days. 120 hours since I last heard my daughter's voice. I pressed the call button again. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then it went to voicemail. The same message I had heard 100 times before. Emily's cheerful voice. "Hi, this is Emily. Leave a message and I'll get back to you." I left another message. My voice was cracked and desperate. "Emily, it's Mom. Please call me. I'm worried about you. Please. Just let me know you're okay." I hung up and tossed the phone onto the couch. It bounced on the cushion and landed face down. My name is Susan. I am 63 years old. I live alone in a small house in Toledo, Ohio, with my golden retriever, Gus. The house is quiet. Too quiet. Gus lifted his head from his bed in the corner and looked at me with sad, knowing eyes. "Don't look at me like that," I said. "She's fine. She's just busy." But I didn't believe my own words. A mother knows. A mother feels it in her bones when something is wrong. And my bones were screaming. Gus got up and trotted over to me. He nudged my hand with his wet nose. I scratched behind his ears. He was a good dog. He had been with me since he was a puppy. He was the only company I had now. Emily was my only child. My husband, Frank, had passed away 5 years ago. He had a heart attack in the middle of the night. I found him the next morning. It was the worst day of my life. But I survived. I survived because I had Emily. She was my rock. My reason for getting up in the morning. She had her own life now. She was 34 years old. She had a good job at a marketing firm in downtown Toledo. She had a beautiful house in the suburbs. She was married to a man named Mark. I never liked him. The thought crept into my mind like a cold draft. I pushed it away. I had no proof. Just a gut feeling. A feeling that he was too smooth. Too polished. He always said the right thing. But there was something behind his eyes. Something that made my skin crawl. I remembered the first time I met him. It was at a fancy restaurant downtown. Emily was glowing. She was in love. Mark was charming. He held doors. He pulled out chairs. He paid for the meal with a crisp $100 bill. He looked like he had stepped out of a magazine. But when he shook my hand, his grip was cold. His smile didn't reach his eyes. He looked at me like I was a piece of furniture. An obstacle he had to tolerate. I told myself I was being paranoid. I was a protective mother. I was suspicious of anyone who might hurt my daughter. I had to give him a chance. I gave him 5 years of chances. And now my daughter was missing. I picked up the phone again. I scrolled through my contacts. I found Mark's number. I hesitated for a moment. I didn't want to talk to him. But I had to find out where Emily was. I pressed call. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then it went to voicemail. The generic automated message. No personal greeting. Just a beep. Mark, this is Susan, I said. I've been trying to reach Emily for 5 days. She hasn't returned any of my calls. Is she okay? Please call me back. I hung up. My hands were shaking. I put the phone down and walked into the kitchen. I needed a glass of water. Something to calm my nerves. The kitchen was small. It had a yellow linoleum floor that was worn thin in the center. The counter was cluttered with mail and old magazines. I had let the place go since Frank died. I didn't have the energy to keep it clean. I opened the fridge. There was nothing inside but a ton of milk and some eggs. I hadn't been grocery shopping in a week. I hadn't had the appetite. Gus followed me into the kitchen. He sat down and looked up at me expectantly. I'll feed you in a minute, I said. Just give me a moment. I poured myself a glass of water. I drank it slowly. The water was still and refreshing. It helped calm my racing heart. I thought about the last time I spoke to Emily. It was 5 days ago. She sounded tired. Her voice was strained. She said she had a headache. She said she would call me back. She never did. I tried calling her work the next day. The receptionist answered. She said Emily hadn't come in. She said she was sick. She said she would be out for a few days. I called the next day. Same story. I called the next day. Same story. I called today. No answer. Something was wrong. I knew it. I could feel it in my gut. A mother's gut is a powerful thing. It had told me when Emily was sick as a baby. It had told me when she was in trouble as a teenager. It had told me when she was broken over a boy in college. And now it was telling me that Emily was endangered. I walked back into the living room. I looked at the clock on the wall. It was 7 in the morning. The sun was just coming up over the trees outside my window. The street was quiet. The neighbors were still asleep. I made a decision. I was going to her house. I grabbed my coat from the hook by the door. It was a worn, old coat. It had a TR in the sleeve. I didn't see a re. I put it on anyway. Gus stood up. His tail wagged slowly. Stay here, boy, I said. I'll be back soon. He whined. He wanted to come with me. But I couldn't bring him. I didn't know what I would find at Emily's house. I didn't want him to be in danger. I grabbed my keys from the bowl on the table. My keys were attached to a keychain shaped like a daisy. Emily had given it to me for Mother's Day. It was a silly little thing. But I loved it. I walked out the door. The air was CL and crisp. The morning dew was on the grass. I walked down the driveway to my old station wagon. It was a faded blue Ford Taurus. It had over 100,000 miles on it. But it still ran. I got in the car and STA revved the engine. It sputtered for a moment. Then it ROA read to life. I backed out of the driveway and headed toward Emily's house. The drive took 40 minutes. Emily lived in a subdivision called Oakwood Estates. It was a nice neighborhood. Lots of young families. Lots of white fences and manicured lawns. It was the kind of place where everyone waved to each other. I pulled into her driveway at 7:45 a.m. The house was a 2-story colonial with a brick facade. There were flower boxes under the windows. They were full of petunias. Emily had always loved petunias. The house looked perfect. The grass was cut. The hedges were trimmed. The driveway was empty. MARKCAR was gone. But Emily's CAR was there. A small blue Honda Civic. It was parked in the garage. I could see it through the open garage door. I walked up the front steps. My legs felt heavy. My heart was pounding. I knocked on the door. No answer. I rang the doorbell. I heard the chime echo inside. No one came. Emily. I called out. It's Mom. Are you there? Silence. I tried the door. It was locked. I reached into my purse and pulled out the spa key. Emily had given it to me a few years ago. She said it was for emergencies. She said I should always have it. This was an emergency. I inserted the key into the lock. It clicked open. I pushed the door open slowly. It swung inward with a low creak. The house was dark. All the curtains were drawn. The air was still and cold. It smelled faintly of stale coffee and something else. Something musty. Something that made my nose wrinkle. Emily, I called out again. My voice was shaking. It's Mom. Are you here? No answer. I stepped inside and closed the door behind me. The living room was neat. Too neat. The pillows on the couch were perfectly arranged. A magazine was on the coffee table, face down. It was unread. There was a half-empty glass of water on a coaster. I walked through the living room. My footsteps echoed on the hardwood floor. The house was silent. Eerily silent. I could hear the beating of my own heart. I moved into the hallway. There was a small table there with a framed photo of Emily and Mark on their wedding day. They were smiling. Mark had his arm around her shoulder. He was holding her tight. Too tight. Like he was claiming her. I looked away. The photo made me uncomfortable. I walked toward the kitchen. The floorboards creaked under my feet. The kitchen was clean. The counters were spotless. The sink was empty. There was a cup of coffee on the counter. It was half full. The milk in it had curdled. There was a plate on the table with a half-eaten piece of toast. The toast was hard and stale. It looked like someone had just gotten up and walked away. I touched the side of the coffee cup. It was cold. My heart was pounding harder now. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I noticed a stack of mail on the kitchen table. Bills. Flyers. A magazine. All of them were unopened. The date on the magazine was from 5 days ago. 5 days. The same amount of time Emily had been missing. I walked out of the kitchen and into the hallway that led to the bedrooms. The hallway was dark. The light was off. I reached for the switch and flipped it. Nothing happened. The bulb was dead. I felt a cold draft coming from the end of the hallway. It sent a shiver down my spine. I wrapped my arms around myself and walked forward. The master bedroom was at the end of the hall. The door was closed. I approached it slowly. My footsteps were soft on the carpet. I put my hand on the doorknob. It was cold to the touch. I turned it. The door swung open. The room was dark. The blinds were closed. A sliver of light cut across the floor from the window. The bed was made. The sheets were pulled up neatly. The pillows were fluffed. It looked like no one had slept there for days. I took a step into the room. My foot landed on a loose floorboard. It creaked loudly. And then I heard a scratching sound. It was soft. Rhythmic. Like someone dragging their fingernails against wood. Scratch. 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 I froze. My blood turned to ice. I strained my ears. I thought it was the wind at first. But the windows were closed. There was no wind. I heard it again. Scratch. 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 It was coming from under the bed. My body went numb. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I read at the bed. It was a large oak bed frame. The dust ruffle hung down to the floor. It hid whatever was underneath. Emily, I whispered. My voice was a breath. The scratching stopped. The silence was deafening. I could hear my pulse pounding in my ears. I took a slow step forward. The floor creaked again. Then the scratching root again. It was faster now. More desperate. More frantic. Scratch. 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 My mind raced. Arachne mouse a rat, but the sound was too deliberate. Too focused. It was like someone was trying to get my attention. I lowered myself to my knees. My joints ached. I leaned forward and lifted the edge of the dust ruffle. It was too dark underneath the bed to see clearly. I squinted, trying to pierce the darkness. I saw movement. A shape shifting in the shadows. A figure huddled against the floorboard. It was a woman. She was curled up in a fetal position. Her hair was tangled and matted. Her clothes were torn and dirty. There was a rope tied around her wrist. It was bound to the leg of the bed. She was trembling. I could see her shaking from head to toe. She was making a low, muffled sound behind a strip of duct tape that was plastered over her mouth. And then she lifted her head. Her eyes found mine in the darkness. They were wide with terror. Tears were streaming down her cheeks. She was trying to scream. But the tape kept it in. It was Emily. I screamed. The sound ripped out of my throat. It was a raw, primal sound. I had never screamed like that in my life. I scrambled forward. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. Emily. Emily, baby. It's me. It's Mom. I'm here. She let out a muffled sob. She was pulling at the rope. Her wrist was raw and bloody. She had been fighting for days. I reached for the tape on her mouth. My fingers were clumsy. I tried to peel it off, but it was stuck to her skin. I'm sorry, sweetheart, I said, sobbing. I'm sorry. I'm going to get you out of this. I yanked the tape off in one quick motion. She gasped. The air rushed into her lungs. She coughed and sputtered. Her chest heaved. Mom, she said. Her voice was a broken whisper. It was hoarse and dry. Mom, help me. Please help me. I'm here, I said. I'm here, honey. I'm going to get you out. I looked at the rope around her wrist. It was a thick, coarse rope. It was knotted tightly around her arm. The skin underneath was red, bruised, and bleeding. Who did this to you? I asked. Where is Mark? She shook her head. Her face contorted in panic. It wasn't Mark. It wasn't him. What? I was confused. I had already convinced myself he was the monster. Who was it, then? She root sobbing. The sound tore through my heart. He had a man. A stranger. He came here. I didn't see his face. Mark put him in the house. He said he was going to teach me a lesson. He said I was a bad wife. He said I needed to leave my place. I felt a cold fury building in my chest. It was a hot, searing rage that made my vision blur. That son of a bitch. Where is he now? I don't know, she cried. He left me here. He said he would come back. He said he would decide what to do with me. My hands worked on the rope. The knot was too tight. I tried to untie it, but my fingers were too clumsy. The rope was cutting into her skin. I need to cut it, I said. I need a knife. The kitchen, she said. There's a knife in the kitchen. I shook my head. I can't leave you here. I'm not leaving you. You have to, she said, her voice urgent. He might be back. He said he would be back soon. We don't have much time. I looked around the room. My eyes landed on the nightstand. There was a lamp on it. A ceramic lamp with a heavy base. I grabbed the lamp. I pulled it out of the socket and lifted it. I smashed it against the wooden leg of the bed. The lamp shattered. Ceramic shards flew in every direction. I grabbed the largest piece. It had a sharp, jagged edge. Give me your wrist, I said. She held out her arm. Her hand was trembling violently. I grabbed the rope and root, sawing at it with the ceramic shard. The rope was tough, but the ceramic was sharp. I sawed back and forth. My arm ached. My hands were slick with sweat. We have to be quiet, Emily whispered. He might be back. I think I heard a car. I froze. I strained my ears. I heard nothing. Just the sound of my own breathing. It's just my imagination, I said. We need to get you out of here. The rope finally snapped. I caught her arm. Her wrist was torn and bleeding. Can you walk? I asked. She tried to stand. But her legs buckled beneath her. I haven't moved in days, she said. I can't feel my legs. Don't worry, I said. I'll carry you. I put my arm around her waist and pulled her up. She leaned against me, weak and trembling. She was so thin. She felt like she weighed nothing. We shuffled out of the bedroom. The hallway was dark and cold. The house was still silent. But I couldn't shake the feeling that we were not alone. We made it to the living room. I was sweating from the effort. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst through my ribs. Emily was leaning on me, her breath shallow and ragged. She was shaking uncontrollably. I could feel her ribs through her thin, torn shirt. Just a little further, I said. We're almost to the front door. Then I heard it. The unmistakable sound of a car turning into the driveway. The crunch of gravel under tires. The low hum of an engine that cut off abruptly. Emily's face went pale. Her eyes widened with terror. It's him, she whispered. He's back. My stomach dropped. I looked out the living room window. A black sedan was parked in the driveway. It was sleek and expensive. The windows were tinted. I couldn't see inside. The driver's door opened. A man stepped out. He was wearing a black suit. He was tall, broad-shouldered. He moved with a slow, deliberate grace. He looked like a predator. He was not Mark. Who is that? I asked, my voice a whisper. Emily shook her head violently. I don't know. I never saw his face. He wore a mask the first time. But I saw him once without it. I don't recognize him. He's just a man. A stranger. The man walked toward the front door. He wasn't in a hurry. He moved like he had all the time in the world. Like he owned the place. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a key. He was going to walk right in. We have to move, I said. Now. I grabbed Emily's arm and pulled her toward the kitchen. The back door led to a screened-in porch. I could see it from the hallway. We stumbled through the kitchen. My footsteps pounded on the linoleum. Emily was dragging her feet. She was trying, but her legs were useless. Behind me, I heard the front door open. The click of the lock. The slow creak of the hinges. Emily, a voice called out. It was deep. Calm. Unfamiliar, I know you're in here. I can smell your fear. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. He was mocking her. He knew exactly where we were. We reached the back door. I pushed it open. The screen door squeaked loudly. I shoved Emily through it. She stumbled and fell onto the porch. Get up, I hissed. Get up, Emily. She scrambled to her feet. Her legs were shaking. She grabbed onto the railing for support. We made it across the porch and down the steps into the backyard. The grass was long and wet with dew. It soaked my shoes. The air was stale and fresh, but I couldn't enjoy it. I could only hear the sound of heavy footsteps on the porch behind us. He was coming. Go. I shouted. Run. We ran. Emily was crying. Her sobs were loud and ragged. She was pushing herself as hard as she could. But she was too weak. She was moving like a wounded animal. We reached the side gate. It was locked with a chain and a padlock. I rattled the chain. It was solid. It wouldn't budge. Over the fence, I said. Go over the fence. I boosted Emily up. She scrambled over the wooden slats. Her hands scraped against the rough wood. She let out a cry of pain. She landed on the other side with a thud. Mom, she yelled. Come on. I heard the back door slam open. Heavy footsteps were running across the porch. He was closing in. I climbed up the fence. My old joint screamed in protest. The wood was splintered and rough. It cut into my hands. I pulled myself up. I swung my leg over the top. I looked down. He was standing in the backyard. He was looking up at me. He had a calm expression. His face was ordinary, completely forgettable. He could have been anyone. A neighbor. A mailman. A stranger on the street. But his eyes were cold. They were dead. There was no emotion there. Get back here, he said. His voice was flat. Like he was giving a command to a dog. I didn't answer. I jumped. I landed hard on the other side. My ankle twisted. A searing pain shot up my leg. Mom. Emily screamed. I'm fine, I said through gritted teeth. Let's go. We ran. We ran down the side road. There was a narrow alleyway between the houses. We right into it. The alley was dark and cluttered with trash cans and discarded furniture. We stumbled over the debris. Emily was panting. I was limping. My ankle was throbbing. We didn't stop running until we reached a main street. There was a gas station up ahead. A bright sign glowing in the morning light. I pulled Emily inside. We ran past the gas pumps and into the small store. The attendant was a young kid. Maybe 17. He was wearing a red vest. He looked up from his phone and stared at us with wide eyes. Emily was a mess. Her clothes were torn. Her face was dirty. Her hair was matted. She looked like she had been through a war. Ma'am, are you okay? He asked. Bathroom, I said. We need to use your bathroom. He pointed to the back. It's right over there. I pulled Emily into the bathroom and locked the door. It was small and cramped. It smelled like bleach and stale air. I sat her down on the toilet lid. She was trembling. Her hands were shaking. She wrapped her arms around herself. I'm so sorry, Mom, she said, sobbing. I'm so sorry you got dragged into this. He was going to kill me. I know he was. Mark told him to. My heart was pounding. My ankle was screaming. But I forced myself to focus. What did Mark do? Tell me everything. She wiped her eyes with her grimy hands. It all rude argo. Mark lost his job. He was drinking a lot. He rude blaming me for everything. The money problems. His failures. His temper got worse. He hit me once. I thought about calling you. But I was too red. He said he would make it worse if I ever told anyone. I felt the rage building inside me again. It was a cold, consuming fury. You should have told me. I would have helped you. I know, she cried. I know. I was stupid. I was a coward. A few weeks ago, he left. He said he was going to get some money. He came back with that man. The one in the suit. He said they had a plan. He said I had to be punished. Why, I asked. What was the point? He said he needed money. He said the man was someone he knew. Someone from his past. They were going to use the house for something. I didn't understand. He said he needed me out of the way. What were they doing in the house? She shook her head. I don't know. He locked me in the bedroom. He tied me up. He gave me water once a day. He said he was teaching me a lesson. He said I should be grateful I was alive. He said he would come back and decide what to do with me. That was 5 days ago. I hugged her. I held her tight. Her body was thin and frail. She felt like a bird. I could feel her ribs. I could feel her heart beating against mine. You're safe now, I said. I won't let anyone hurt you ever again. I pulled out my phone. No service. The gas station had a payphone. I was going to call the police. No, Emily said, grabbing my ARM, don't call them. We can't. Mark has friends in the police. He told me. He said they would make me look crazy. He said if I ever told anyone, he would make my life a living hell. Friends, I said. That's ridiculous. He's a salesman. He doesn't have friends in the police. You don't know him, Mom, she said, her voice shaking. You don't know what he's become. He's not the man I'm alright. He's a monster. He's turned into someone else. He's been doing things. I don't even know what. He has money now. I don't know where it came from. But he has money. He said he could buy anyone. My head was spinning. I didn't know what to believe. But I knew one thing. I wasn't going to let some thug in a black suit get away with this. The man in the suit, I said. Who is he? Did you see his face? Not in the beginning, she said. He wore a mask. A black ski mask. But he stopped wearing it later. He said it didn't matter. He said I wasn't going to be around long enough to tell anyone. A cold chill went down my spine. He was planning to kill you. Yes, she said quietly. I think Mark was too red to do it himself. So he hired someone. I looked at my daughter. She was a battered mess. But she was alive. And I was going to keep her that way. We're leaving, I said. We're going to Detroit. I have a friend there. Irene. She'll take us in. We'll be safe. I opened the bathroom door. The gas station attendant was still behind the counter. He was watching us nervously. Ma'am, do you need me to call someone? He asked. No, I said. We're fine. Just give us a moment. I walked to the payphone. I had a few quarters in my pocket. I inserted them and dialed Irene's number. It rang 3 times. Hello, Irene's voice was groggy. She was still asleep. Irene, it's Susan. I need your help. It's Emily. She's in trouble. I explained the situation in a rushed, hushed tone. Irene was a widow. She lived alone in a secure house with a security system. She was cautious. She was the only person I could trust. Come, she said. Bring her here. I'll have the guest room ready. Thank you, I said. We'll be there in 2 hours. I hung up the phone. I looked at Emily. She was leaning against the wall. Her eyes were half closed. She was exhausted. We're going, I said. Let's move. We walked out of the gas station. The air was ciel. The sun was higher now. It was rooting to RM up. I helped Emily into the passenger seat of my station wagon. She slumped against the seat. Her eyes fluttered closed. I got behind the wheel and rooted the engine. I looked in the rear view mirror. The gas station was quiet. The street was empty. But I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. I pulled out of the gas station and drove toward the highway. My ankle was throbbing. My hands were gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles were white. Emily was silent. She was sleeping. Her breathing was shallow. Her face was pale. I looked at her and felt a wave of love and rage wash over me. Love for my daughter. Rage for what had been done to her. I was going to make them pay. I was going to find out what Mark and that man were up to. I was going to make sure they never hurt anyone again. But first, I had to get Emily to safety. We drove for an hour. The highway was empty. The landscape was flat and green. Cornfields stretched out on either side of the road. The sky was clear and blue. It was a beautiful day, but I couldn't enjoy it. I kept checking the rear view mirror. I kept expecting to see a black sedan behind us. But there was nothing. Just empty road. We reached Irene's house in Detroit. It was a small bungalow in a quiet neighborhood. The lawn was well kept. There were flower beds along the front porch. It looked peaceful. I pulled into the driveway. Irene was already at the door. She was wearing a bathrobe. Her gray hair was tied back in a bun. She had a worried expression on her face. I helped Emily out of the car. She could be a rely stand. Her legs were giving out. Oh my, Irene said. Look at her. Let's get her inside. We ride Emily into the house and laid her on the guest bed. Irene brought her water and a bowl of soup. Emily ate a few spoonfuls before falling asleep. She needs to see a doctor, Irene said. I know, I said. But I can't take her to a hospital. They'll ask questions. They'll report it. Mark will find her. What are you going to do? I thought for a moment. I had an idea. A reckless idea. A dangerous idea. I'm going back, I said. Back where? Irene asked, her eyes wide. Emily's house, I said. I need to find evidence. I need to know what Mark and that man were doing. I need to bring them down. Irene shook her head. That's insane. He'll kill you. He's not there, I said. He's looking for us. The house is empty. This is my only chance. I kissed Emily on the forehead. She didn't stir. She was fast asleep. I looked at her pale face and felt a wave of determination wash over me. I'll be back soon, I said. I walked out of the house. Irene was standing in the doorway, watching me. I got in the car and revved the engine. I was going back to Toledo. Back to Emily's house. Back to the place where my daughter had been held captive. And I was going to find the truth. I drove back to Toledo with my hands clenched around the steering wheel. The sun was climbing higher now. It was past 9 in the morning. The roads were busier. Cars whizzed past me on the highway. I stayed in the right lane. I drove the speed limit. I didn't want to draw any attention. My ankle was swollen. It throbbed with every press of the gas pedal. I ignored it. Pain was just a distraction. I had a mission now. I had to find the truth. I had to protect my daughter. I exited the highway and drove through the familiar streets of Toledo. The city looked the same as it always did. Ordinary, unremarkable. A place where nothing bad ever happened. But I knew better now. Evil could hide anywhere. It could hide behind a white fence. It could hide behind a charming smile. It could hide in the house next door. I parked my station wagon 2 blocks away from Emily's house. I didn't want to be seen. I walked the rest of the way. My ankle protested with every step. I limped along the sidewalk. I kept my head down. I tried to look like I was just an old woman out for a morning walk. The neighborhood was quiet. A few cars were parked on the street. A man was watering his lawn across the street. He didn't look at me. A woman was walking her dog. She waved. I waved back. I reached Emily's house. The black sedan was gone. The driveway was empty. The house looked peaceful. The curtains were still drawn. The front door was closed. It looked like a normal house. I walked around the back. I climbed over the fence again. My ankle screamed in protest. I landed on the grass and almost fell. I caught myself on the fence post. The backyard was empty. The screen door was still open. It was creaking in the wind. The sound was eerie. It sent a shiver down my spine. I approached the back door. It was unlocked. I pushed it open and stepped inside. The kitchen was just as I had left it. The coffee cup was still on the counter. The half-eaten toast was still on the table. The air was still and stale. It smelled of neglect. I moved through the house. My footsteps echoed on the hardwood floor. The silence was oppressive. Every creak of the floorboards made my heart race. I expected to see the man in the black suit around every corner. But the house was empty. I went to the master bedroom. The bed was unmade. The rope was still lying on the floor. I knelt down and looked under the bed. I saw the pile of blankets. I saw the food wrappers. That was where she had been held. I sat back on my heels. I looked around the room. Something was nagging at me. Something I had missed. I scanned the room again. The dresser. The closet. The nightstands. Everything looked normal. But there was something else. Something I had seen in my rush to save Emily. A detail that had slipped my mind. I remembered the basement. When I had found Emily, I hadn't even thought about it. I was too focused on getting her out. But now, in the cold light of day, I remembered something. There was a door in the hallway. A door I had never noticed before. A door that led somewhere. I stood up. I walked out of the bedroom and into the hallway. I looked at the walls. I looked at the floor. I walked slowly, my eyes scanning every inch. And then I saw it. A bookshelf. It was tucked into a corner of the hallway. It was ordinary, made of dark wood. filled with old books and knickknacks. But something was off. The bookshelf was slightly IR. There was a gap between it and the wall. A gap that was too wide. I walked over to it. I tugged on the bookshelf. It moved. It slid on a track. It was a hidden door. My heart root pounding. I pulled the bookshelf open. It swung out way on silent hinges. Behind it was a door. A heavy, solid door with a combination lock. I read at the lock. It was a Standa RD combination lock. A 4-digit code. I had no idea what the code was. But I knew Emily. She was terrible with numbers. She always used the same code for everything. Her birthday. I tried it. 0412, April 12th. Her birthday. The lock clicked open. I pulled the door open. A set of rickety wooden stairs led down into the darkness. A cold draft wafted up from below. It smelled musty. It smelled damp. It smelled like secrets. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. I turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness. I descended the stairs. They creaked under my weight. I held onto the railing. It was loose and wobbly. The stairs led to a large basement. It was not a normal basement. It was finished. There were walls. There was a floor. There were lights. And there was equipment. Tables lined the walls. They were covered in jars and beakers, glass tubes, Bunsen burners. I didn't know what most of it was, but it looked like a laboratory. There was a computer on one of the tables. The monitor was on. It cast a pale blue glow across the room. I walked over to it. The screen was displaying spreadsheets, names, numbers, amounts of money. I scrolled through the files. I didn't understand most of it. There were terms I didn't recognize. Chemical compounds, financial transactions, foreign currencies. But I saw patterns. Names of people. People I had seen on television. Politicians. Businessmen. Local officials. They were all listed. They all had amounts next to their names. My stomach turned. This was bigger than I had imagined. This wasn't just Mark and a thug. This was some kind of operation. A network. I opened a folder labeled Clients. Inside were photographs. Surveillance photos. Photos of people going about their daily lives. Leaving their homes. Going to work. Dropping their children off at school. And then I saw a photograph that made my blood run cold. It was a photograph of Emily. She was leaving her office. She was smiling. She looked happy. She had no idea she was being watched. Underneath the photograph was a notation. It was in Mark's handwriting. I recognized it from the CARDS. He had sent me over the IRS. Get acquired. I read at the words. My vision blurred. All this time, Mark had been planning to use Emily. He had married her for a purpose. He needed her for something. He was using her as a pawn. I felt a wave of nausea wash over me. I leaned against the table. I took a deep breath. I had to stay calm. I had to keep thinking. I looked at the computer again. I opened more files. I found documents, bank statements, loan applications, emails. I read through them. Mark had been in debt. He had been desperate. He had made bad investments. He owed money to dangerous people. And then I found the emails. They were between Mark and someone else. Someone with an encrypted email address. The emails were short, cryptic. They referenced transactions. They referenced shipments. They referenced the client. Mark was involved in something illegal. Something big. He had been using Emily's house as a base of operations. And when she became a liability, he had found a way to get rid of her. I searched the basement for more evidence. I opened drawers. I searched boxes. I found a filing cabinet. I opened it. It was filled with files. I pulled one out. It was a list of names. People who owed money. People who had been threatened. People who had paid. This was a blackmail operation. My hands were shaking. I felt sick. I wanted to burn the whole place down. I wanted to find Mark and strangle him with my bare hands. But I had to be smart. I had to get this evidence to the police. I had to make sure Mark and his partner were brought to justice. I pulled out my phone. I was going to take photos. Photos of the equipment. Photos of the files. Photos of the computer screen. I raised my phone. I framed the shot. I pressed the button. Then I heard a sound. A creak. A footstep on the stairs above. My blood ran cold. I dropped my phone. It clattered on the floor. The flashlight on my phone was still on. It was pointing at the ceiling. The light illuminated the staircase. A shadow appeared at the top of the stairs. Someone was coming down. I grabbed my phone. I clicked the flashlight off. I pressed myself against the wall. I was plunged into total darkness. I held my breath. I heard another footstep. Then another. The stairs creaked under the weight of a heavy body. The person was descending slowly. Deliberately. A light flicked on. A lamp on the desk. It cast a dim, yellow glow across the basement. I could see the figure now. A man. He was wearing a suit. A black suit. It was him. The man from the Bacquier Road. The man in the black suit. I know you're here, Susan, he said. His voice was calm. Cold. I saw your car down the street. You're not as sneaky as you think you are. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I pressed myself against the wall. I prayed he wouldn't see me. He walked into the basement. He moved toward the computer. He sat down in the chair. He looked at the screen. He wasn't panicked. He wasn't angry. He was calm. Like he had expected me to come out, wherever you are, he said. His voice was mocking. He knew exactly where I was. I saw an object on the table next to me. A heavy glass jar. It was filled with some kind of liquid. A chemical. I didn't know what it was. But it was heavy. It could be a weapon. I grabbed the jar. I held it in my hands. My palms were sweating. My grip was slipping. The man stood up. He turned around. He looked directly at me. His face was cold and expressionless. It was the same face I had seen in the Bacquier Road. The same ordinary, forgettable face. Did you really think you could save her? He asked. You're just an old woman. You can't stop what's already in motion. I didn't think. I just reacted. I threw the jar at his head. The jar smashed against his shoulder. The liquid splattered everywhere. It was a thick, viscous liquid. It smelled like chemicals. It burned my nostrils. He staggered Backway Road. He was momentarily disoriented. The liquid was in his eyes. He was rubbing them. He was cursing. I bolted for the stairs. My legs pumped hard. My ankle screamed in protest. I ignored it. I ran up the stairs. I was panting. I was gasping. I burst out of the basement door. I slammed it shut behind me. I pulled the bookshelf back into place. I was trying to block him in. But I knew it wouldn't hold him. He was strong. He would get out. I had to get out of the house. I ran through the living room. I was heading for the front door. I reached for the handle. I grabbed it. I pulled. The door opened. I stepped outside. I felt a hand grab my ankle. It yanked me back. I fell 4-way road. My face hit the porch. Pain exploded in my nose. Blood poured out. I turned around. He was standing over me. He was holding a small knife. It glinted in the sunlight. You shouldn't have come here, he said. You should have stayed out of it. But now you know too much. You've seen everything. I scrambled Backway Road. I tried to get away. He grabbed my ankle again. He pulled me toward him. I've already called the police, I said. My voice was shaking. I was bluffing. I know you haven't, he said. He shook his head. I know everything. I saw you drop Emily off at your friend's house in Detroit. I know all about Irene. I know everything about you, Susan. I've been watching you for months. My blood ran cold. What do you mean you've been watching me? Mark needed to know everything about his wife, he said. That included her mother. We had to make sure you wouldn't be a problem. And now you are. He crouched down. He was just a few inches away from me. I could see the coldness in his eyes. There was no humanity there. I'm going to make this look like an accident, he said. A slip and fall. A tragic death for an old woman. It happens all the time. He raised the knife. I kicked out. I aimed for his groin. My foot connected. He grunted. He doubled over in pain. The knife fell from his hand. It clattered on the porch. I scrambled to my feet. I ran. I didn't look back. I ran down the driveway. I ran down the street. My ankle was burning. My nose was bleeding. But I didn't stop. I reached my car. I fumbled with my keys. My hands were shaking. I dropped them. I picked them up. I finally got the key in the ignition. I looked in the rear view mirror. He was standing in the doorway of the house. He was watching me. He wasn't chasing me. He didn't look worried. He smiled. A slow, cold smile. I floored the gas pedal. The car screeched away from the curb. I drove. I drove without thinking. I drove until I reached a police station. I ran inside. I was a mess. My nose was still bleeding. My clothes were torn. I must have looked crazy. I need help, I shouted at the officer at the front desk. My daughter. There's a man. He's trying to kill me. The officer looked at me with concern. He led me to a room. He asked me questions. He took notes. I told him everything. About Emily. About the basement. About the JARS. About the files. About the man in the black suit. He nodded. He said he would send officers to the house. He said they would take care of it. I sat in the police station for hours. My hands were still shaking. I called Irene. I told her I was okay. I told her Emily was safe. I told her not to worry. I waited. I waited for the police to come back with evidence. I waited for them to arrest Mark. I waited for justice. The officers came back after a few hours. They looked grim. We searched the house, the officer said. There was no basement. There were no files. There was no computer. There was nothing. What I said. That's impossible. I was just there. I saw it with my own eyes. Ma'am, we searched the entire property, he said. There was no basement. The house is on a slab foundation. There's no room for a basement. I felt the floor fall out from under me. But I was there. I saw it. I threw a jar at him. I ran up the stairs. I opened the door. The man in the black suit, the officer said. Can you describe him? I opened my mouth. I tried to remember his face. But I couldn't. I couldn't remember a single detail. I remembered his cold eyes. I remembered his voice. But I couldn't describe his face. It was like a blank space in my memory. I can't, I said. I can't remember his face. The officer sighed. Ma'am, we found your daughter's house. It was empty. There were no signs of forced entry. There were no signs of a struggle. We interviewed the neighbors. They said they heard nothing unusual. I'm not crazy, I said. I'm not making this up. I believe you believe what you saw, he said. But we have no evidence. We can't do anything. I left the police station in a daze. The world felt unreal. Everything I had seen. Everything I had experienced. It was all gone. Wiped clean. How was that possible? How could a whole basement just disappear? I got in my car. I sat there for a long time. My mind was racing. I thought about Mark. I thought about the man in the black suit. I thought about the files. The photographs. The emails. They were covering their tracks. They knew I would go to the police. They had cleaned everything up. They had made me look like a crazy old woman. But I knew the truth. I knew what I saw. I knew my daughter had been held captive. I knew Mark was a monster. I knew the man in the black suit was real. And I knew they weren't done with us. I drove back to Detroit in a fog. The world outside the windshield was blurry. The trees. The CARS. The sky. Nothing felt real. I was running on adrenaline and fear. My ankle was swollen to twice its normal size. My nose had stopped bleeding, but the dried blood was caked on my upper lip. I didn't see I couldn't feel anything except the cold knot of dread in my stomach. I pulled into Irene's driveway at 3 in the afternoon. The sun was still high. The neighborhood was quiet. Irene's house looked warm and inviting. There were flowers in the front yard. A welcome mat at the door. It was everything my own house was not. It was a safe place. I hobbled up the front steps. I knocked on the door. Irene opened it. She took one look at me and her face went pale. Oh my God, she said. What happened to you? I pushed past her. I walked into the living room. Emily was sitting on the couch. She was wrapped in a blanket. She looked better. She had cleaned up. Her hair was brushed. Her face was washed. She was sipping a cup of tea. But her eyes were hollow. She looked like a ghost. A shell of the woman she used to be. Mom, she said. You're bleeding. I'm fine, I said. It's not my blood. She set down her cup. She stood up. She walked over to me. Her legs were still shaky. She put her hands on my shoulders. What happened? What did you find? I sat down heavily on the couch. My legs gave out. I felt like I was 100 years old. I told them everything. About the basement. About the files. About the photos. About the man in the black suit. About the police finding nothing. Emily listened in silence. Her face was pale. Her hands were trembling. They cleaned it all up, I said. They knew I was going to go to the police. They made it all disappear. There was no evidence. Nothing. Irene shook her head. That's impossible. You can't just make a whole basement disappear. There's a basement, I said. I saw it. I was in it. I threw a jar at him. I ran up the stairs. I was there. Emily sat down next to me. She took my hand. Her grip was weak. The police didn't believe you. They thought I was crazy, I said. They said there was no basement. They said I was hallucinating. Emily looked at me. Her eyes were wide. Maybe you did hallucinate, she said quietly. I read at her. What, maybe we both did, she said. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you're crazy. Maybe I made it all up. Maybe I had a mental breakdown and I imagined everything. No, I said firmly. I know what I saw. I know what I saw. Did you? She asked. Her voice was small. I've been sitting here thinking. I've been thinking about everything. What if it's all in my head? What if Mark didn't do anything? What if I just lost my mind? Emily, stop it, I said. You were tied up. You had rope burns on your wrists. Those are real. They're still there. She looked at her wrists. The marks were still visible. Faint red lines circling her skin. She touched them. Her fingers traced the lines. Maybe I did that to myself, she said. Maybe I wanted attention. Maybe I was having a psychotic break. Stop it, I said. You're not crazy. Mark is the crazy one. He's the monster. He did this to you. Irene stepped four-way road. She's right, Emily. I saw you when you got here. You were a mess. You couldn't walk. You couldn't talk. That wasn't a breakdown. That was real. Emily shook her head. She root crying. I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know who to trust. I thought I knew Mark. I thought he loved me. But now I don't know anything. I put my arm around her. I held her tight. I know it's hard, I said. I know you feel confused. But you have to trust me. I'm your mother. I would never lie to you. She leaned into me. She was sobbing. Her body was trembling. I held her. I let her cry. I let her let it all out. When she was done, she pulled back. She wiped her eyes. What do we do now? She asked. I thought for a moment. We can't go to the police. We can't trust them. Mark has people there. They'll just cover it up again. So, what do we do? Irene asked. We find Mark, I said. We find him, and we make him talk. We find out who he's working with. We find out what they're planning. Emily shook her head. That's too dangerous. They'll kill you. They'll kill all of us. Maybe, I said. But I'm not going to live in fear. I'm not going to run. I'm going to fight. I looked at Irene. Do you still have your husband's old gun? Irene's eyes widened. Susan, no. I'm not getting involved in this. I'm not asking you to get involved, I said. I'm just asking for the gun. Irene hesitated. Then she nodded. She walked out of the room. She came back a few minutes later. She was holding a small handgun. A revolver. It was old. But it looked well-maintained. This was Howard's, she said. He kept it in the nightstand. He said it was for emergencies. I took the gun. It was heavy in my hands. I had never held a gun before. It felt foreign. It felt dangerous. But I knew I might need it. I knew I might have to use it. Thank you, I said. I hope you know what you're doing, Irene said. I didn't answer. I didn't know what I was doing. But I knew I had to do something. I spent the next few days planning. I thought about where Mark might go. He couldn't go home. The police were looking for him. He couldn't go to his usual haunts. People would recognize him. He had to be hiding somewhere. Somewhere safe. Somewhere connected to his operation. I thought about the basement. The equipment. The chemicals. They were manufacturing something. Something illegal. They needed a place to do it. Where would they go? I thought about Mark's past. He had grown up in a small town about an hour away. He had a cabin there. A hunting cabin. He used to talk about it. He said he went there to get away from the city. To clear his head. It was a long shot. But it was the only lead I had. I told Emily and Irene my plan. They both objected. Emily was terrified. She begged me not to go. She said it was a trap. She said Mark would kill me. He could be there, I said. He might be there right now. He might be with the man in the black suit. I need to find him. Let the police handle it, Emily said. The police won't handle it, I said. They're in his pocket. We have to handle it ourselves. I hugged her. I kissed her forehead. I'll be CA Refill, I said. I promise. Irene gave me a small bag. It had a flashlight. Some water. A granola bar, in case you get stuck, she said. Thank you, I said. I got in the car. I root the engine. I drove away. I could see Emily and Irene in the rear-view mirror. They were standing in the doorway. They were watching me go. The drive took an hour and a half. The road wound through the countryside. Past farms and fields. Past forests and streams. The landscape was beautiful. But I couldn't enjoy it. I reached the town where Mark grew up. It was a small place. A post office. A diner. A gas station. A church. It was the kind of place where everyone knew everyone. I didn't stop. I drove through. I headed for the cabin. The cabin was on a dirt road. The road was rough and bumpy. My station wagon bounced and rattled. I drove slowly. I was looking for signs. Tracks in the dirt. A car parked in the trees. And then I saw it. A black sedan. It was parked behind the cabin. Hidden from the road. I almost missed it. But I saw the glint of sunlight on the windshield. My heart root pounding. I parked my car on the side of the road. I got out. I walked toward the cabin. I was carrying the gun in my pocket. It was heavy and solid. The cabin was small. It was made of logs. There was a porch with a rocking chair. The windows were dark. It looked abandoned. But I knew it wasn't. I crept up to the window. I peered inside. I saw a lamp on a table. I saw a figure sitting in a chair. It was Mark. He was sitting alone. He was drinking from a bottle. He looked haggard. His clothes were wrinkled. His hair was a mess. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. I moved to the door. I tried the handle. It was unlocked. I pushed the door open. It creaked loudly. Mark looked up. His eyes widened in surprise. Susan, he said. What are you doing here? I came to talk, I said. I stepped inside. I closed the door behind me. You need to leave, he said. You shouldn't be here. It's not safe. Safe, I laughed. You're telling me about safe? You locked my daughter in a bedroom for 5 days. You had a man tie her up. You left her to die. That wasn't my idea, he said. I didn't want that. Then why did you do it? I asked. Why did you let it happen? He rubbed his face. He was shaking. I had no choice. I owe people money. A lot of money. They said they would kill me. They said they would kill her too. Who are they? I asked. Who is the man in the black suit? I don't know his name, Mark said. He's just a man. He works for someone else. Someone above him. Who? I don't know, he said. I've never met him. I only talk to the man in the suit. He gives me orders. I follow them. What are you doing? I asked. What's in the basement? He looked at me. His eyes were desperate. It's a lab. We're making something. A drug. A new drug. It's not on the market yet. It's very valuable. And you were using Emily's house. She was never supposed to find out, he said. I was going to move the operation. But then she came home early. She saw things she wasn't supposed to see. I had to keep her quiet. So you locked her up? I didn't have a choice, he said. They told me to. They said if I didn't, they would kill her. And then they would kill me. I read at him. I felt nothing. No pity. No sympathy. Just cold, hard anger. You made your choices, I said. You chose this life. You chose to hurt my daughter. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry. I never meant for any of this to happen. Sorry doesn't fix it, I said. I pulled out the gun. I pointed it at him. His eyes went wide. He raised his hands. Susan, please, he said. Don't do this. Killing me won't fix anything. You're right, I said. It won't. But it will make me feel better. I pulled the trigger. The gun clicked. It was empty. I had forgotten to load it. Mark lunged at me. He knocked the gun out of my hand. I fell to the floor. He was on top of me. His hands were around my throat. You crazy old woman, he snarled. I should have killed you when I had the chance. I couldn't breathe. I was gasping for air. My vision was rooting to blur. I clawed at his face. I scratched at his eyes. He screamed in pain. He let go of my throat. He fell backway road. I scrambled to my feet. I grabbed the gun off the floor. I pointed it at him again. This time it's loaded. I lied. He didn't move. He was panting. He was clutching his eye. There was blood running down his face. Get up, I said. We're going to the police. No, he said. No police. They'll kill me. I don't see I said. You're going to tell them everything. About the drug. About the man in the suit. About the whole operation. He shook his head. You don't understand. They'll kill everyone. They'll kill Emily. They'll kill your friend. They'll kill you. They'll try, I said. But I'm not going to back down. I grabbed his ARM. I pulled him to his feet. I urged him out of the cabin. I shoved him into the passenger seat of my car. Drive, I said. We're going to the police station. I got behind the wheel. I root the engine. I looked in the rear view mirror. And I saw the man in the black suit. He was standing in the trees. He was watching me. He had a gun in his hand. He raised the gun. He aimed it at the car. I floored the gas pedal. The car lurched four-way road. The gunshot rang out. The back window shattered. Glass flew everywhere. I ducked. I swerved. I drove as fast as I could down the dirt road. I didn't look back. Mark was screaming. He's going to kill us. He's going to kill us all. Shut up, I said. I was driving with one hand. The other hand was holding the gun. I reached the main road. I turned onto the highway. I drove toward the police station. I didn't stop until I got there. I pulled into the police station parking lot with my hands shaking on the steering wheel. The car was a wreck. The back window was gone. Glass was scattered across the back seat. Mark was slumped in the passenger seat. He was bleeding from his eye. He was whimpering. I cut the engine. I sat there for a moment. I couldn't move. My body was frozen. My heart was pounding. I looked at Mark. He was a pathetic sight. A broken, desperate man who had made terrible choices. Get out, I said. My voice was hoarse. He didn't move. He just sat there. Ring at the dashboard road. I said get out. I repeated. I opened my door. I stepped out of the car. My legs were trembling. I walked around to the passenger side. I opened his door. I grabbed his ARM. I pulled him out. He stumbled. He fell to his knees on the pavement. He was crying. Tears were mixing with the blood on his face. Please, he said. Please don't do this. They'll kill me. They'll kill everyone I love. You don't love anyone, I said. You're a monster. I dragged him toward the police station. He was resisting. He was digging his heels into the ground. But I was stronger. I was fueled by rage. I had a purpose. We reached the front doors. I pushed them open. The station was busy. Officers were at their desks. People were waiting in chairs. A receptionist was behind a glass window. I urged Mark to the front desk. I slammed him against the counter. I need to report a crime, I said. This man is my daughter's husband. He held her captive for 5 days. He is involved in a drug manufacturing operation. He is working with an accomplice. A man in a black suit. The receptionist read at me. She was young. Maybe 25. She had wide eyes. Ma'am, are you okay? She asked. I'm fine, I said. Just arrest him. Mark root sobbing. She's crazy, he said. She's making this up. She's a crazy old woman. She attacked me. Look at my face. She did this to me. I hit him. I slapped him across the face. The sound echoed through the station. Everyone turned to look. That's for Emily, I said. I raised my hand to hit him again. An officer grabbed my wrist. He pulled me back. That's enough, he said. Everybody calm down. I pulled my hand free. I pointed at Mark. Arrest him. He's guilty. He confessed to everything. I didn't confess, Mark said. She's lying. The officer looked at me. He was a big man. He had a mustache. He looked skeptical. Ma'am, what's your name? He asked. Susan, I said. Susan Ford. My daughter is Emily Ford. The officer nodded. I need you to calm down. Take a seat. We'll get to the bottom of this. No, I said. You don't understand. This man is dangerous. He has connections in the police department. He has people protecting him. The officer narrowed his eyes. What do you mean by that? I looked around the station. I saw officers at their desks. They were watching me. Some of them looked uncomfortable. Some of them looked away. I mean, there are cops in his pocket, I said. They've already covered up evidence. They made a basement disappear. They made files disappear. They made everything disappear. The officer read at me. I could see the doubt in his eyes. He thought I was crazy. I need you to calm down, he said. I'll take your statement. But I need you to be calm. I can't be calm, I said. My daughter almost died. The officer sighed. He led me to a room. It was a small room with a table and 2 chairs. He sat me down. He asked me questions. I told him everything. Again. The whole story. From the beginning. He took notes. He nodded. He asked more questions. When I was done, he looked at me. Ma'am, I'm going to be honest with you. This is a very unusual story. I know, I said. But it's true. We're going to investigate your claims, he said. But it's going to take time. You don't have time, I said. The man in the black suit is out there. He's going to come after us. He's going to come after my daughter. We'll protect her, he said. I don't trust you, I said. I don't trust any of you. I stood up. I walked out of the room. I walked out of the police station. I got in my car. I drove away. I drove back to Irene's house. I was exhausted. I was running on empty. My body ached. My mind was racing. I pulled into the driveway. Irene was at the door. She rushed out to meet me. What happened? She asked. What happened to the car? I told her everything. About the cabin. About Mark. About the man in the black suit. About the police. She listened in silence. When I was done, she shook her head. You should have stayed at the police station, she said. You should have let them handle it. They won't handle it, I said. They're useless. Emily came out of the house. She walked up to me. She put her arms around me. Mom, you need to rest, she said. You look terrible. I'm fine, I said. I need to keep going. No, she said. You need to rest. You need to sleep. We'll figure this out in the morning. I wanted to argue, but I was too tired. I let her lead me inside. I let her lay me down on the couch. I closed my eyes. I fell asleep almost immediately. I woke up in the middle of the night. The house was dark. The silence was heavy. I could hear Emily sleeping in the other room. I could hear Gus snoring in the corner. I got up. I walked to the window. I looked outside. The street was quiet. The houses were dark. The streetlights cast pools of orange light on the pavement. And then I saw it. A black sedan. It was parked across the street. The engine was off. The lights were off. But there was a silhouette inside. A man. He was watching the house. My blood ran cold. He had found us. He had followed me. I grabbed Irene's gun. I checked the chamber. It was loaded this time. I had reloaded it before I left the police station. I walked to the front door. I unlocked it. I stepped outside. The air was ciel. The grass was wet under my bare feet. I walked toward the black sedan. I was holding the gun behind my back. The man in the car saw me. He root the engine. The headlights flipped on. They blinded me. I raised the gun. I aimed it at the windshield. Get out of the car, I shouted. He didn't move. The engine revved. Get out of the car, I shouted again. He put the car in drive. He floored the gas pedal. The car lurched 4-way road. It was heading straight for me. I dove out of the way. I rolled on the grass. The car raced past me. It screeched down the street. It turned a corner and disappay red. I lay on the grass. My heart was pounding. My body was shaking. Emily came running out of the house. Mom, are you okay? I sat up. I was covered in grass and dirt. My hands were scraped. I'm fine, I said. What happened? She asked. He found us, I said. The man in the black suit. He found us. I looked at Emily. She was pale. She was trembling. We can't stay here, I said. We have to leave. Now. I ran inside. I woke up Irene. I told her what happened. She packed a bag in minutes. She was SCA red. But she was calm. We got in Irene car. I drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just drove. I drove for hours. Through the night. Through the darkness. I drove until the sun came up. I drove until we reached a small town in the middle of nowhere. I pulled into a motel. It was a rundown place. But it was quiet. It was anonymous. I rented a room. We went inside. We locked the door. We sat on the beds. No one spoke. Emily was the first to break the silence. What do we do now? She asked. I thought for a long time. I thought about the basement. I thought about the files. I thought about the man in the black suit. We need to go public, I said. We need to tell our story to the media. We need to make it impossible for them to cover it up. The media, Irene said. They won't believe us. They'll believe us if we have evidence, I said. But we don't have evidence, Emily said. The police said there was nothing. Then we need to find some, I said. We need to go back to the cabin. There has to be evidence there. Something the police missed. Mom, that's insane, Emily said. He'll be there. He'll kill you. Maybe, I said. But I'm not going to live in fear. I'm not going to run for the rest of my life. I looked at Emily. I took her hand. I will not let him take you away from me. I will fight for you. I will die for you. Emily root crying. She hugged me. She held me tight. I'll go with you, she said. No, I said. I'm going alone. You stay here with Irene. Keep the gun. Don't open the door for anyone. Mom, please, she said. No, I said. I made my decision. I stood up. I walked to the door. Don't worry, I said. I'll be back before you know it. I walked out of the motel room. I got in Irene car. I drove back to the cabin. The drive took 2 hours. The sun was high in the sky. The roads were empty. I drove with a grim determination. I knew I was walking into a trap. But I didn't see Irene. I reached the cabin. The black sedan was there. It was parked in the same spot. The man in the black suit was waiting for me. He was standing on the porch. He was holding a gun. I parked the car. I got out. I walked toward him. I wasn't riding a weapon. I had left the gun with Emily. You're a stubborn old woman, he said. I know, I said. It's a family trait. What are you doing here? He asked. I came to stop you, I said. How do you plan to do that? He asked. I reached into my pocket. I pulled out a small device. It was a recording device. I had bought it at a store on the way. I pressed the button. I've been recording this entire conversation, I said. It's being streamed to a secure server. If anything happens to me, the recording will be released to the media. He read at me. He was unmoved. He was calm. You're bluffing, he said. Try me, I said. He raised the gun. He aimed it at my chest. I'm not bluffing, I said. You can kill me. But you can't stop the truth. I looked him in the eyes. I saw a flicker of doubt. For a moment, he hesitated. And then, behind him, I saw headlights. A car was coming down the dirt road. It was moving fast. It was Irene car. I watched as it slammed to a stop. The door flew open. Emily got out. She was holding the gun. Get away from my mother, she shouted. The man turned. He raised his gun. He aimed at Emily. Everything happened in slow motion. I lunged 4-way road. I tackled him. We fell to the ground. The gun flew out of his hand. We wrestled on the dirt. He was stronger. He was younger. He pushed me off. He stood up. He lunged for the gun. Emily fired. The shot rang out. It echoed across the trees. The man fell. He crumpled to the ground. He wasn't moving. Emily stood there. She was shaking. She was crying. I shot him, she whispered. Oh my God. I shot him. I ran to her. I held her. You did what you had to do, I said. You saved my life. She looked at me. Her eyes were wide. Is he dead? She asked. I looked at the man on the ground. His chest was still moving. He was breathing. He's alive, I said. He's going to be okay. I pulled out my phone. I called 911. I told them what happened. I waited for them to arrive. When the police got there, I told them everything. I showed them the recording. I showed them the cabin. I showed them the evidence. This time, they believed me. The police took the man in the black suit away in an ambulance. He was still alive. Emily had shot him in the shoulder. He would recover. And then he would go to prison. They found Mark in the motel room where I had left him. He was trying to run. He didn't get FAR. The police arrested him. They found evidence at the cabin. They found evidence at Emily's house. This time, the basement didn't disappear. The investigation unfolded over the following months. The man in the black suit talked. He gave up names. A network of corrupt officials. A drug ring. A blackmail operation. It all came crashing down. People went to prison. Powerful people. People who thought they were untouchable. Emily testified. She was brave. She told the jury everything. Mark was convicted of kidnapping, assault, and conspiracy. He was sentenced to 15 years. The man in the black suit got 20. It took a long time for Emily to heal. She went to therapy. She stopped flinching at shadows. She sta root laughing again. She sta root living again. She moved in with me for a while. We had meals together. We walked Gus together. We talked late into the night. I had saved her. That was what mattered. I had fought for her. I had refused to give up. And in the end, we had won. I don't think about Mark anymore. I don't think about the man in the black suit. I think about my daughter. I think about the sound of her laughter echoing through my house. I think about the way she hugs me now, a little tighter than she used to. The scratching under the bed was Emily's desperate cry for help. But in the end, it was my cry that saved us both. Reflective takeaway Summa RY. Sometimes we think we know the people we love, but we only see what they want us to see. I thought I was saving my daughter from a monster, but the truth was far worse than I could have ever imagined. Loyalty can be a mask, and trust can be a weapon. In the end, the most dangerous enemy wasn't the man in the black suit, it was the person I trusted most. The scratching under the bed wasn't a cry for help from my daughter, it was a performance. And I was the audience. Punchy closing line. My daughter said she was sorry, but the look in her eyes told me she wasn't sorry for lying. She was sorry for getting caught. Call to action. What would you do if you realized the person you trusted most was the one you should have read all along? Hit subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below.